This is the excitement of live TV, people. I've just been chatting away to myself for the past 5 minutes, telling you all that I had an internet issue just 5 minutes ago. It was panic stations here. My internet went down to 1 meg. Didn't know what I was doing. It was panic stations. And the next thing was, I says, right, I'll go live. Went live. All a fluster. Didn't know what to do. Feeling it, you know? Went live, chatting away. Are you guys there? Can you see me? What's going on? Couldn't see myself on YouTube. Guess what? I didn't even hit the camera button. But there you go. I think I still have major Wi-Fi issues here, guys. I have a hard wire going into the back of this machine. I'm just going to hit record on this because you know what? Maybe we could upload it later because that's just crazy stuff. I'm looking at the playback there and it is super slow. What can you do? You're at the behest of these internet service providers. Unbelievable. Anyway, we've got lots and lots to do. Is anyone in the house today? How are you? Do you want to all say hello? Hello, how are you? I hope that smooths out because that's crazy. Stadach, which is a stoppy. It's a word Oskelga. There you go. Today, or this evening, we'll be looking at editing. And it's going to be super editing because what we do in here is generally in WaveLab Cast. I mean, we address other pieces of software, we address other pieces of kit, all that sort of stuff. Excuse me. But what we do, what we're going to be talking about today is editing in WaveLab Cast. And when I'm editing in WaveLab Cast, I say it's super learning. Do you know why? Because basically we have the basic functions of editing our stuff in WaveLab Cast, which would be great, okay? But you see, these editing techniques and this editing functions and stuff like that will work in any DAW, pretty much, okay? So the functions of WaveLab Cast, what is WaveLab Cast? Let's get over and done with that yet. And I'm still looking, is it still very stoppy-starty for everyone? Can anyone hear me? Is anyone there? I see there's a few lads in here, all right. Is it still very stoppy-starty? Because you know what? Maybe I'll just stop it and start it again because that is not great for anyone to sit down and watch at all. So what we'll do is, seeing as it's live TV, people, I'm just going to stop the stream for a second, and then what we'll do is we will start it again, okay? Hopefully we'll be able to get going here, because that's a bit mad, to be honest with you. I don't know what's going on. I generally have super duper high broadband, and what's happening today is the upload has gone and shot right down. Generally I have an upload of about 40 meg at least. So I'm hoping that this is going to start happening now for all of us. Let me just reload that page because the sooner we get this sorted, the sooner we'll be able to get going on this, yeah? Okay, so there's our stream. Sorry about this, people. Connecting the preview. Is that me? That looks a little better. Okay, I'm starting to see me. Brilliant. Let's start again. Sorry about that. Internet troubles. What can we do? We're at the behest of the service providers. Generally, it's like rock solid. Anyway, so tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and one night only. Well, it won't be. We're here every third week, every month. The third week of every month, the Thursday, and we'll be dealing with editing and content creation, and podcast creation, and video creation, and audio production within that. but within the context of a piece of software out there called WaveLab Cast, and that's brought to you by Steinberg. Okay, so WaveLab Cast it's a little DAW. Let me just show you it here. I have it here. Let me just show you. And this is it. This is basically what we're talking about. This is a full DAW with all the bells and whistles. And the thing about WaveLab Cast is, and we'll go through all the editing and all the functions of this as we progress over the next few weeks. But the thing about this is, it's super simple to use. And some of the super serious functions of this are super duper simple to use. Okay? What they did was in Steinberg that they brought everything right back. Absolutely everything. Pared it all back. So you know when you're looking at all this professional audio equipment, you're looking at buttons and faders and dials and loads of scary stuff. Okay? They've pulled all of that back right here, and they leave all the heavy work and the knowledge and everything to WaveLab Cast. Okay? So you're talking about EQs, you're talking about deverbing, you're talking about all these processes that you can use in WaveLab Cast, and it basically does all the heavy work for you. Okay, so that's the joy of WaveLab Cast, and that's where we're going to be looking at that as we go through the next few weeks. Okay, brilliant. So let's see, where do you get WaveLab Cast? Well, WaveLab Cast is available to everybody. Okay, there's one version, there's no LE and a Pro version or anything like that. WaveLab Cast is an iteration of WaveLab Pro or WaveLab Elements, as you may have come across it. And if you've bought any sort of hardware recently, you may find yourself with a version, a card, a Steinberg card in there from Zoom recorders or from some equipment from Yamaha. And what they do is they give you a card, and on the card is a code, and you basically get to download WaveLab LE for free and other software. But with some equipment now, they're shipping with WaveLab Cast, so you're getting this full version for free, which is brilliant. Now if I just show you the website, here we go. That's the WaveLab Cast website, and we have all this info here. But if you look here, just there, you can get a trial version, and that trial version is a fully working version for 30 days or so. Okay, so get yourselves your trial version. Okay, download it, install it, and we'll go through the functions of it and the rest of WaveLab Cast over the next few weeks. And listen, it's all learning. You're going to find out how to edit, how to put together podcasts, how to mix to picture, how to address lots of different stuff over the next few weeks and throughout the year. Okay, so you can see all sorts of stuff there on the website, and it's all very good. But if you want to buy it, of course, there you go. There's the full version for $70, okay, ish. If you're upgrading, do you remember I was saying to you about that card you get with the hardware that you buy? So the upgrade there is only $20, and that's including VAT. So if you're in full-time education as a student, you get it for $45. Brilliant. Happy days. Isn't that brilliant? And there you go. As I say, you can get the trial version. Just download straight there, install it onto your machine. And the wonderful thing about WaveLab is it is super duper lightweight on the old resources, so you can pretty much run it anywhere. Okay, so happy days on that. What I wanted to look at today was, though, a bit of editing. So you can see the previous episodes in the WaveLab Cast channel on YouTube. Okay, so the first week we went through absolutely everything. We crammed all we could right in there. It was just jam-packed full of absolutely everything we could just to get going. Okay, so what I've kind of been trying to do is get into the nitty-gritty slowly of bits and bobs that you get in WaveLab Cast. Okay, so last week we were talking about recording. So ultimately what you're doing is you're going out and you're recording whatever you need to record. Your interviews, you need to get your interviews recorded. You get your tunes off wherever you get your tunes. You do your voiceover. So today we're going to put it all together into an edit. Okay, and the edit is going to be we're looking at a bit of VO. We're going to take an interview and we're going to chop it up and see how we do that in WaveLab Cast. We're also going to look at, what else are we going to look at? We're going to look at editing a wee bit of music, and we'll put all that together and have a basic edit of a really short section of a podcast. And as I said earlier, it's the functions we're doing, the editing we're doing to the audio, okay? It all spills over into other DAWs and other workflows that you could use in any software ultimately, okay? And not just podcasts, but we can use the same workflows for, video production, post-production, because you can bring pictures into WaveLab Cast as well. So you bring your picture into WaveLab Cast, okay? And then the next thing is, wow, you could be doing sound design for, I don't know, whatever project you're looking at. You could be looking at doing your TV, not your TV mix, but your YouTube mix for your content. So you cut your whole thing together and say iMovie, okay, or Windows Movie Maker, or I don't know, wherever you make your movies. You take your timeline out of that, or your voiceover timeline, or your interviews and all that sort of stuff. You put it into WaveLab Cast, and then you can start doing your sound design, bringing in your sound effects, bringing in your music, mix the whole lot there, output your stereo master, put it back to your video, and bang, you're in, you know? And it does a shed load of the work for you. You know, like, I mean, cleaning up audio, processing audio, just making it sound a whole lot better, richer, and you get all your meters in here as well. So it does a shed load of the work for you, which means that you're talking, let me see. Yeah, like, I mean, when it's taking the load off you with all the technical stuff, you're not distracted with all that, and you can focus on your content, if you understand what I mean. So this is all paired back exactly for you, so you'll be able to get that content working for you and get it out there. Okay, brilliant, happy days. So let's look at this. We have, ladies and gentlemen, WaveLab Cast. So when you install it and you open it, this is what you get. And you're looking at an interface, okay? So I click on here. This is the interface that we'll be dealing with. Here are your meters. You got a spectroscope there. This is the track inspector down here, okay? So we might just address a little bit of that during the day. You got your transport. Oh, excuse me. You got your transport. That's the extended transport, and then you can expand that out and you get different functions there. Don't forget, you can click on Tell Me More if you want to know what's going on with any of these functions. Now, let me tell you. In File, I go to my Preferences and I go to my Audio Connections. If you can see there, I'm on a virtual driver, but all my audio interfaces are here. That's my main one, which my microphone is plugged into. And that would be generally what I leave it on, because that's my interface. That's my audio interface. My microphones are plugged into that. It goes into my computer. I work on the audio that I do that. So it's all good there. But because I need to send the signals from WaveLab Cast to you guys, I need to go to a virtual driver. So I might be flicking over that driver throughout the night. Okay? Just for your own headspace. Okay, so there's all your preferences in there, which is all good, and this is the main window. So look, I go to File, I can go back to the main window. Okay, you get different functions here as well. Okay, your zoom levels, what you do, splitting the audio files, you know, bouncing selected clips, etc., etc. All these different things you can see in here. You get your master output, that's all good, and again the track inspector, your master section there. And you get meters going on here as well. So I just hit play here and you can see all these meters going. That's your spectroscope, which allows you to see the full width of the listening. Oh, can you hear that? The full width of our listening scope from 20 hertz up to 20 100,000 hertz, okay? So that's human hearing. These are your meters. This is how the machine hears what's going on in here. Is it too low? Is it too high? And if you got a good level going on there, then you know the actual audio itself is working well. Okay, so if you've got cans on or headphones, okay, so I put on my headphones to listen while I'm working to. Imagine I'm working off headphones. I could have the level really loud in my headphones. Okay, so you got to be super careful of how you're monitoring, and yet it's so you're looking at, for example, voice. You're looking at sound effects. You're looking at interviews. You're looking at music. Okay, and they have to stack on top of each other. Okay, so the most important aspect of this whole thing is voice, the story, the message, if you know what I mean. The fact that you're looking at, I'm just going to go and click through here because I'm just wondering, can you guys see me okay? Is everyone there? Because I'm recording this, so I'll put it up again. I'm afraid it's the Wi-Fi again. You're getting that? Okay, great. So, the voice is everything. So your voiceover, the interviews, because that's what it's all about. You're trying to convey some sort of message. If you do a podcast on, I don't know, Dungeons and Dragons, D&D, okay? What happens is you upload that. Everyone wants to talk about it. Everyone wants to be involved in it, and they want to hear information about it. So that's your listening audience. Do you understand? So you need them to be able to hear you as best they can. Okay, brilliant. So we're going to focus on voice a lot tonight and editing voice. Okay, music, we'll have an intro piece of music, we'll have an intro piece of VO, and we'll dip in to a quick method of getting the voiceover done throughout as you edit. Okay, brilliant. So what happens? You open up your software, you get this window, which is all good, and we're going to go to new, okay, because we want to set up a new session. Okay, so if I click on new here, okay, I have a choice. I can go for a new audio file, or I can go for a new audio montage. And an audio montage is basically a load of tracks. What are tracks, Keith? Tracks are a timeline from the start of the show to the end of the show. And imagine you had one tape recorder playing on the top one, and then another tape recorder playing below that, and another tape recorder playing there. So the top one plays the voice, the second tape recorder plays, I don't know, sound effects, interviews, and the third plays music. Okay, and those stacked on each other are called tracks. Okay, so the first is going to be our voice track. Yeah, so I'm going to be recording this on a voice. I'll be recording my voice over on this microphone. So this microphone is a mono microphone. Okay, now what's the difference between mono and stereo? So everything you consume in your everyday, TV, tunes from anywhere. Imagine you're still listening to CDs, you're listening to vinyl, you're listening to MP3s. They're all stereo. Everything's stereo. You're consuming most things in stereo. A mono mic is literally just one signal, okay? Stereo is two signals, left and right, okay? So my mono microphone will be going down onto a mono track, and my music will be going down on a stereo track because we have left and right. Okay, so there's the basics. Let's have a wee look at these. So when you do open up your new window, which is fab, you can go and you can add a template, or you have all these templates set up, and these templates will basically set up your whole session for you automatically. Okay, which is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So if I have just a host, oh, there it is, I clicked it and there it went, it set it up. See, you got your host, you got your music, and you got your sound effects. So that set everything up for me automatically. I didn't need to go in and set up all my tracks, whether they're mono or they're stereo or it's all done for me. And those templates will really, really help you in doing that. Okay, as I say to you, WaveLab Cast, it just takes an awful lot of the work away from you, so you don't have to worry about am I setting up a stereo track for my interviews? Am I setting up a mono track for my voiceover recording? Is my voiceover track in mono or stereo? So I'm not panicking about that because it's done it already. So if you want to consider, if you work off with the one microphone all the time, okay, just like this microphone, I walk out and I go, do all my voiceovers in the studio and it's great, or at home or on the kitchen table, or, well, not necessarily at the kitchen table. Have a look at the last show and try and figure out why, right? Okay, we went through all that last week. So this week I'm going around, I find a microphone, right? Imagine it's this microphone. Oh, there's a microphone. Well, this is a measurement microphone, but don't worry about that. So there's a microphone. I go and I do my voiceovers in my microphone, and that's fabulous. This is a mono microphone. It's not specifically a stereo microphone. Okay. I go out and I do my interviews. Hello, Mary. What do you think of Christmas coming up? It's going to be fabulous, isn't it? Yeah, she's really looking forward. What do you think? And she goes, ba, 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 ba. And that's a mono recording as well, because I'm still using the mono microphone. Okay, so the difference is if you walk out with a handheld recorder like this. This has got two microphones. See that? So this is a stereo mode and that's a stereo mode, but this is XY. Okay, don't worry about that. Way too advanced for any of us here, right? This is XY. So I go out and I hit record. So Mary, what do you think of Christmas? And she goes, la 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 la. I love Christmas. It's going to be great. Brilliant. Thank you, Mary. Super interview. And I bring this home. Now, those recordings are in stereo because this is a stereo handheld recorder. Okay, so they're the difference. How do you know the difference in WaveLab Cast? Okay, so WaveLab Cast, if you look here, you see one little circle there and you see two circles here. And that's music, which means that that sign or that little icon indicates stereo. This indicates mono. So my host is in mono. Okay, just to let you know. So that's all good. Let's have a look at these tracks. These tracks are sizable, so you can make them bigger or smaller, so you can work away on them. These tracks are also part of a DAW, a digital audio workstation. And that basically lets you work away with all your audio as much as you want. Okay? You can put sound effects on it. You can cut it to your heart's content. You can do whatever you want in this digital audio workstation. Okay? Brilliant. So we're going to bring our audio in here and we're going to cut it up now. Okay, so I just want to show you each and every track, and this is pretty much every DAW in the world will have this kind of setup as well. Okay, so you got mute, which literally mutes, turns off the track. You don't hear the audio playing on that track. If you only want to hear that audio on that track, you hit solo, and see the way it mutes the other tracks. Okay, brilliant. The other thing we have here is our input. Okay, now I can tell WaveLab Cast where my microphone is plugged in, because I have an audio interface plugged into my computer and my microphone is plugged into that audio interface. So that's the signal I want to take. I want to take this from my audio interface. Now my audio interface is called a UR28M, the specific one I'm using tonight. Okay, so as you can see, that's not the exact one, right? I go out to File, I go out to Preferences, and I go to Audio Connections. And here I can see my Steinberg UR28M. See that? I select that, I go back to my session, I click in, and there's all my inputs. So I want to select that because that's my microphone. Okay, I'm going to put that into monitor, direct monitoring, turn that off for a second. Now you can see my voice. Okay, you can't hear my voice because it's all going into this. But you can see my voice happening there. Okay, see this? little speaker, I turn that off and I'm still talking, but it's not monitoring. That's the input monitor. Okay. There's your record button. I can click record and that's arming the track. Okay. And it's asked me, if you want to record into this track, you got to save it. So let's call it Christmas, Christmas, just for no other reason than we do. And we can tell it what location we want it in, okay? Because this is my my system drive, music. There's a folder on there called WaveLab Cast, and you got audio montages, okay? So that allows us determine exactly where we want to put it. And this is all about asset management, and it's so super important. Believe me, after working in the game for 30 years, you need to know where it's putting all the audio and making sure that it's all safe in one place. Because if you send your session or your project to somebody else and they want to start working on it, imagine that we were working on a music piece in here and they want to start working on it. If you've got audio files all over the place, it's a nightmare. Okay, so audio asset management is super important. So we can select the destination folder. So I could set up a folder on my internal drive or on an audio drive somewhere or a hard drive I've got somewhere, and I can select a folder specifically and send everything to that, including the project folder. Because let me show you the hierarchy in this system. Okay, so let me just cancel that for a sec because that'll want to go over here. And see, I was showing you in music. Okay, I go to music, I go to WaveLab Cast, and we saw the difference between audio files and audio montages. Okay, we're working on an audio montage. Remember, we're setting up the difference between new audio file and new audio montage. Here's the audio montages. I'm going to double click on that. There's our testing montage, okay, which is super important. There's a backup file. Here's all your data. That is all your audio files. Okay, that folder is where you need to be focusing on and sending all your audio to it. Okay, super important to keep everything in the one place. But that's the hierarchy of the folder. So now we know we're all over the asset management, okay? Because if it's not in that folder and you send that folder to somebody else to work on, then we're all goose because your audio is everywhere. You got to be super careful with all that sort of stuff, okay? Really important to manage that properly, okay? So there's our setup. I'm going back to the session I set up previously, right? Which is testing. And this is a little bit of VO. So what I did was I went and I selected my in and I click there just for giggles, just to show you what the scene is. I arm the track and I click record. And I can say whatever I want to say. Now you guys aren't going to hear this because I'm going through my other interface. Okay, from my microphone to travel into my interface, down the computer and into WaveLab Cast. I'm going to stop that. Now you can see that I recorded that audio. If I play that back to you, let me just flick over to send you guys the signal. Okay, I'm going back to my show. Now you should hear that. Are you hearing that? Let me just select this and play it back to you. Record. And I can say whatever I want to say. Now you guys aren't going to hear this because I'm going through my other interface. Okay. So you can see where I recorded that. Okay. So that's grand. That's our voiceover. But imagine I just recorded this voiceover today. Okay. Super important as well. I'm all the way out here. See how much space I have to work here? This is all about zoom levels, okay? And it's like as if you're working with chisels or whatever. If you're working on something very intricate, you need to get in and work on it properly. if you understand what I mean. So if you got a hammer and a chisel and you're trying to carve wood, you get into the wood and you do. So it's the exact same with audio. Okay, I'm going to select that area. I'm going to hit K, and I can go and I can zoom in right there. Where is it? There we go. That's the furthest out. If I go G, 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 I can go out a bit. See that? And if I want to zoom in, I go H. And all these shortcuts are available to you as well. Okay, you can go into File and you go to your preferences and you can see here shortcuts, and in shortcuts you can set up as many shortcuts as you want. So if you're used to a specific DAW to try and find your way around there quickly, you could set up your own shortcuts to find your way around as quick as you can for your editing and stuff like that. Okay, so that's in your preferences file. Okay, let's go back here. So there's our voiceover. I'm going to click here and we'll listen to it. On this week's podcast, we'll be talking about the game Borderlands, and Borderlands is culturally very significant according to some gamers that are playing it. We'll be talking to Matt. Okay, so that's my voiceover. That's my start to my voiceover. What I want to do is I went off and I interviewed this very interesting young man who happens to live in my house, and he happens to be my son at the same time. And he was playing, and I said, listen, man, I literally just ran out with my recorder, said, listen, doing the show tonight, would you mind? He said, no problem. So, happy days. I want to show you how to access those files as well. Okay, so I ran out with my recorder, okay, and I recorded to an SD card. So that's an SD card. See those little cards? Do you recognize that? Okay, you can get micro SDs and you can get big SDs. And everything was recorded to that. I took that and I brought it into my computer with this, which is a card reader. Okay, that came in as a little hard drive on my system, and I selected that. So what I did was I go up here and I go to here. Can't hear myself. We go to File Browser. Okay, so I click on File Browser, and now you can see all your system. Okay, you got your volumes, you got your documents, desktop, music. And that's what's showing up in my file browser. And funnily enough, see this file here? That is the interview that I did with Manus today. Okay, so I'm just going to click and drag that down there. Okay, and I'm dropping it right there. And that's my interview. Okay, I can zoom right in there, go H, 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 G, 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 G if I want to go and zoom, or I can hit this and it zooms out to the whole project. Okay, we're going to edit this interview with Manus right now. I just want to go and look at some music first. I'm going to go there, I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go, oh, that track. Yeah, brilliant, why not? Let's bring that down to the music track. I click and drag that, and there that shows up there. Okay, I'm going to uncheck this because I want to get my tools back. Okay, so I can drag any of this audio anywhere I want. Okay, but what I'm doing is I'm just going to drag that to the front. Okay, and then I'm going H, 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 and this is basically how you build up your edit. I'm grabbing the voiceover and I'm doing that. Let me just zoom over here, or else I can click the transport. Now you getting those tunes? Okay, so there's a bit of funky music. Brilliant. So that's going to be my intro music, so I won't need the whole track. Do you understand what I'm saying? So let's just split it there. And look, you got split clip. So I'm splitting the clip and I got two sections. Let me just click off there. I got this section and I got this section. And again, I can click and I can drag that anywhere. As I say, it's a digital audio workstation. So you're literally looking at a visual representation of the audio file. Okay. And you can see with the waveform, you got all sorts of different dynamics in there. So there's a little quieter bit, there's a break completely, there's a loud bit, and I'm just looking at that from the waveform. Okay, I'm going to hit delete and get rid of that because I won't need it. Okay, it's all looking a bit blue though, isn't it? We don't need to be blue, it's nearly Christmas. So let's select my VO. I want to change the color. I'm going red. This, why not go for yellow? One of my least favorites. Okay, let's not. That's disgusting. Let's do that. That's cool. Okay. And then my music, let's go. I don't know. What color do you want to go? Anyone's suggestions? We have lads in. Can you actually see us? Brilliant. Jeff Zabaletsky. Jeff, please, my apologies. I am the worst in the world for trying to read these things. Hello from Northern California, IA. How are you? I hope all is well. David, when will it be compatible with M1? This program was launched 1 year ago and still not compatible with a Mac M1. What? How come you've got an M1 and I don't? That's just not fair, man. It's just, I don't think I'll answer your question because out of indignance. David, to be honest with you, you'll need to keep an eye on the website. To be honest with you, I never actually, because I don't have an M1 and it wouldn't be a pressing issue for me every day, I never actually looked, to be honest with you. So, both out of indignance, right, because I don't have an M1 yet myself, I'm not too sure, to be honest with you. So we could look at that on the website. If you look at support on the WaveLab Cast, you'll absolutely get the information. They're always working on these things and developing them, bringing them up, and releasing version after version after version. And they'll basically, as soon as it's ready to go, they'll have it out to you. As soon as it's solid, of course. You know what I mean? But Mac M1, how do you find it? Lucky you. Toys R Us, and it's not even Christmas when you got it, obviously. Brilliant. So, Jeff, have you done this stuff before? Are you a podcaster? What are you doing out in Northern California, man? Apart from, I don't know, surfing and stuff. Do you do Northern surfing, California type stuff? I'm not sure. Anyway, listen, guys, you're so welcome here. We're here third week every month, and come on in here and, have a bit of crack. If you know all this already, I don't care. Just join in. Whatever you're thinking, whatever you're saying, it's helping everyone else in here. Okay, and I'll be honest with you, lads, it's so important. There's a lot of guys and lassies in here that are kind of just feeling their way around this sort of stuff. So we'll be talking about a lot of students and things like that. So any contribution you want to bring to the table, as long as it's positive, of course, you're so welcome. So welcome. And I say it every show. If any of you have, hiya Tim, if anyone, nice stable into this. Can't remember what that means. I've no idea, Tim. Anyway, what I was saying was, if any of you have any questions, okay, there's a load of people out there. I mean, we're talking a lot of people watching this now, okay? And questions are going to be occurring to them. But with the nature of humanity, and as beautiful as it is, some people won't feel themselves ready to put themselves forward and ask that question. So if you guys are thinking the same thing, I'm sure there'll be somebody that is in here asking the same question. So if you got the question, ask it, because there's somebody else in here afraid to ask the question. No question is a stupid question. Believe me, no question is a stupid question. Okay? We'll try and answer them all as best we can. All right? After all, it's Christmas. Goodwill to all men, right? Hey! And women. And we're going to edit this. Okay, so you heard the tunes there. Okay, so look at the waveform. I just want to zoom into the music specifically, okay? This is for those that don't work with waveforms every day. You can see a boom, boom. See all the little peaks there, right? There's a peak. There's a peak. There's a peak. Those are the kick drums. Have a listen. Okay, so with that waveform, we can see that those kick drums are hitting the bar. Boom, 2, 3, 4, boom, boom, 2, 3, 4, boom. So that allows us to get really good with our editing of our voice versus music. Okay? It's really important because you can throw in any old piece of music, and when people are going to edit and listen to that, They're feeling the rhythm of the music. And if you're jumping in on top of that music, it can be a little jarring. So it could be really, really, really nice thing to do to focus on where your voice is coming in to suit the music. Okay, so I'm going to have a look at this. I'm going right back here. That sounds like a good spot to start our voiceover. So I'm going to drag my voiceover over to there. But you see this little bit here? It's hanging over. What's that doing there? See the way the tool is changing? I'm dragging my mouse to the start of that and the tool changes automatically, which means I have that to trim that audio file. See that? Now this cursor changes there, but look at the dot below that. Now I can do this. Look. Now I'm fading in. I can also, it changes here. See the changes in the middle? That's increasing or decreasing the amplitude of the wave file. Okay? And you can see that in the little, see that little box in the middle? How much am I increasing it by? There's 1 decibel increase by. Can you see that there? You can. Brilliant. So keep an eye when you download the demo. Keep an eye on where your mouse is and what it's doing. See that? Now see that fade? I'm going to drag that back out here because it was influencing the end of that. Now, there we go. I'm going to trim that there and I'm going to trim that up there. And that's where the start of my voice is. I'm putting it to that kick. So here, have a listen to this. On this week's podcast, we'll be talking about the game Borderlands, and Borderlands is culturally very significant according to some gamers that are... Okay, brilliant. So we love the position of that voiceover currently, okay? Now, for those astute ones out there, you're looking at the music too loud, okay? So the music is way too loud for what's going on here, okay? Tragically, we'll have to deal with that again, okay? We're just going to focus on the editing of our audio right now and where to position and use the tools that we're using tonight. Just to trim our audio or use bits of audio and not use other pieces of audio, and how to smooth it all out and make it all happen for you, okay? So we have our music positioned. We have our main voiceover positioned. I'm taking my interview and I'm dragging it down here out of the way, okay? So I can focus on that now. So do you remember I said to you, the mute button? So I'm going to mute my music and that's gone all grey. So listen to this. I'm going to hit play and I'm turning on my mute button. Or this week's podcast, we'll be talking about the game Borderlands, and Borderlands is culturally very significant. And I'm going to solo the music, gamers, which is muted everything else except the voiceover, except the music, should I say? Okay, which gamer? So there's the music just playing on its own. So that's what those two do. The mute mutes what you're playing at that current time. Okay, brilliant. So I'm going to mute that, get it out of my way, because I want to focus on starting to edit our interview, which is super important. There's a lot of hms and ahs and oohs and ahs. And you're brand new to WaveLab, Tim. Wow. Okay, how would you set up a master to vinyl? Listen, we haven't even gotten to do the podcast yet. The best mastering software in the world is WaveLab. And WaveLab Pro is just out of this world for doing any of that sort of work, okay? So when you get your master, you're setting up your master to go to vinyl, okay? You're talking about your track master, right? You're writing your tunes. I don't know whether you're in a studio, Tim. I don't know whether you're at home. But when you do sit down and you do... Sorry, I can hear myself now. When you do come out of the studio with your masters, that's when Tim goes off and he puts down his guitar, his vocals, his brass, his synths, his drums, all of that sort of stuff. They mix the whole thing and it's all sounding brilliant in the studio. But that's one track. If he has an album of 11 tracks, okay, all the way down, one guy has mixed this track, Then they went off and they mixed this other track. They might have mixed that at 5 a.m. in the morning. He could be bright and breezy at 11 a.m. 2 days later after 15 hours sleep and is feeling fabulous. But he's put that away. He hasn't referenced that yet, but he's got his new track there and that sounds fabulous too. So he puts that away and he goes over to the next thing. And you know what? Next thing is he has 10 tracks for his album. Then it goes off to the mastering engineer, and the mastering engineer sets it up in WaveLab Pro, okay? And he does the thing there, including setting it up for vinyl, Tim, okay? So, to be honest with you, man, we're in here talking about WaveLab Cast, right? So, we're trying to help out as many people as we can just to get going on the creative sense first. I know with WaveLab Cast you can record tunes and all that sort of stuff as well and put your whole masters together in there, right? But we're just starting off on the basics, just getting going, all right? So, Tim, any input is all good. Listen, keep asking the questions. I'll try and answer them, okay? Deadly. Let's look at the interview, okay? So really simple, quiet, small interview. So here we are interviewing Manus about computer games. It's the 23rd of December 2021. We're recording in a kitchen stereo mic, Dior 40X recorder going into okay, so what is all that? That's the ident. So when you have an SD card or a hard drive or anything with loads of audio files on there, okay, apart from the file name, there's very little you can do to understand what's on there, okay? There's things called metadata, and metadata is loads of other information, but it's hidden in the file and only certain programs can access that. So an ident is basically a little speech at the start of your audio to say, this is what the audio is, this is when I'm recording it, this is the equipment I'm recording it. Because if I go and record Manus's mate to talk about other, you know, games and stuff, I want the interviews to sound the same. So I'm going to bring the same recorder with me, because if I brought this microphone and a different recorder, I might get a different timbre, okay? So that's why I'd stick to the same recorder, and that's why I put it into the ident and the date. So I just know exactly what I'm doing there, okay? So obviously this is absolutely no use to us. So I'm just going to flick over there. I'm going to go to the end of my file again. Watch the cursor. Bing, it's magic. And then we trim that up to the start of the interview, okay? Does and through. Let me just hit play. So Manus, you were talking to me earlier about this computer game that you wanted to own as opposed to just rent it. Could you tell me about, one, what the game is, two, what it does, and three, why the ownership as opposed to just getting it from the library? Okay, so just a little background really quick. Myself and Manus had a chat today. I went to the municipal library. We picked up books for the kids for Christmas. I always go down and get them a game anyway, you know. They have computer games there as well, video games for Xbox, all that sort of stuff. And you can borrow them. It's all good. And I brought him back he loves this game, Badlands or Borderlands, right? And I said, there you go, son. He said, oh, brilliant. That's the one I was trying to buy. And they've got this on there, that on there. And I said, well, there you go. Go play it. He went, no, I'm not going to. I go, what? And he says, I don't want to play it until I own it, because he's mad into this game, and he'll tell you for his own reasons in the interview. Okay, so that's my question, and that's the basis of the interview, okay? So, see the way I can bring up the volume, increase and decrease the volume? I want you to look at this. Okay, I'm going to zoom out. Oh, wrong way, Josephine. Now, when I was doing my interview, see the difference here? See that? Okay, this is much quieter. Let me just play that for you.
Lines are outlined in black, and all of it is, it's not really meant to look realistic. It's sort of cartoonish and off. And they also had this...
So listen to the difference here.
Where all the lines are outlined in black, and all of it is, it's not really meant to look realistic. It's sort of...
So you can hear a difference in volume, right? Okay, so the reason that is changing in volume is, oh, look at that. There's a little thing I'll show you later. The volume on the recorder was too high, so I hit down on the recording level. So I'm just going to split that out, and I'm going to increase here, and I can increase that. Now they're the same amplitude.
Lined in black, and all of it is, it's not really meant to look.
So there's very little difference. Hear the difference? Very little difference. I can bring that up. Here we go.
Sort of cartoonish and off, and they also had this ridiculous.
Okay, so that's just balancing up the interview level wise. Now we will be getting into mixing, and we will be getting into levels of music versus voice versus interview versus voiceover, etc. We'll be doing all of that in the next few months, but right now we'll just look at the simple editing. Okay, now there's my question, and I'm going to finish it from the library. Okay, I want to start with Manus in my podcast.
The first Borderlands came out a good while ago, and it was one.
Okay, so that's where Manus starts talking. I'm going to hit S, and that split the file from there to there. So I'm getting rid of all of that. Bye bye. And our voiceover. Borderlands so attractive to the average gamer.
Borderlands, the first Borderlands came out a good while ago, and it was one of the first games. I can't remember what the art style is called, but it was one of the first games to use this technique on their graphics that makes it kind of look like a comic book, where all the.
Okay, so that all sounds great, but there's a which I wouldn't mind cleaning up. Okay, so I'm selecting that area. Okay, I'm going to zoom in there, and I can just select, get rid of the and the hit delete. And do you see what happened there? Look where that waveform is. I'm just going to put my cursor there, and you can see that peak in the waveform. Okay, let me put my cursor there, and I'm going to hit delete. Sorry lads, because I put it away. I'm just going to do that. There's my cursor. Hit delete. See, it's shifted everything down. It shifted everything down automatically. So what it's doing is a lot of the editing work for you. And again, WaveLab Cast does that for you. It's brilliant. So listen now to what Manus is saying.
First games to use this technique on their graphics that makes it kind of look like a comic book, where all the lines are outlined in black, and all of it is.
So now the is gone. So it's a much cleaner interview. It's snappier. We're getting in there. We're getting into the nitty gritty. Okay. So I'm zooming out again. I want to listen to what he's saying here.
Off, and they also had this ridiculous sort of sense of humor in the game. And
okay, so we have a little hiccup there.
Ridiculous sort of sense of humor in the game.
Let's get rid of that. Okay, so getting my cursor, select that, drag across again, hit delete, and it's dragged that down.
Also have this ridiculous sort of sense of humor in the game. And
so now we're neatening up all of these as and oohs and ahs, and we're making it sound more consistent.
I think it's sort of cartoonish and off, and they also had this ridiculous sort of sense of humor.
I think we could tighten that up slightly, so I'm just going to zoom in there. Okay, you can see that there. So there's the off. So I'm selecting that. In fact, I could do this, couldn't I? Sorry, let me just select this. Because that's split already, I'm just going to do that. Okay, now I can select that, and by holding shift I can drag these down. Watch when I crash those in together. Okay, you can see that there. What WaveLab Cast is doing is putting in a little crossfade. See that? Watch the waveform. You can see that shoving down like that. And a crossfade is basically dropping the volume of this and bringing up the volume of this at the same time. So it just smooths out the join. So have a listen to that.
Sort of cartoonish, and they also had this ridiculous sort of sense of humor in the game.
Okay, so I just think that that's jumping in on itself. Okay, so let me just grab that and this and lessen that slightly and have a listen again.
Sort of cartoonish, and they also had this ridiculous sort of sense of humor.
Much better pace. Much better pace. Do you hear me? So that's a much smoother transition. Okay, I can't believe that we're at 8 o'clock already. So what I need you guys to do, and I'm hoping that you guys, could you see me? Everything was going okay with YouTube, I hope, because we had such issues with the broadband. So let me just turn this on, have a listen to what we have so far. I'm just going to drop the volume of this as well. On this week's podcast, we'll be talking about the game Borderlands, and Borderlands is culturally very significant according to some gamers that are playing it. We'll be talking to Manus tonight, and we're hoping that he'll give us an insight into what makes Borderlands so attractive to the average gamer.
Borderlands, the first Borderlands came out a good while ago, and it was one of the first games, I can't remember.
So now we're getting places, guys. Now it's all starting to come together. Don't worry about the levels of the music and when I was playing with the level there. There's toys in WaveLab Cast that will do so much of that work for us. And we'll look at that again, because we'll be here literally every third week of the month coming through. And what we'll do is we'll just look at different aspects of it, how it's going to help you. We'll get a whole podcast together with music and interviews, and we'll start doing sound effects. We'll get a picture in there, which is a video, and we'll put a whole workflow together with picture, which will help a lot. And Tim, if you've got tracks that you want to send us or something, I don't know, we could start mixing music or doing music in here as well. Just any sort of creativity, and that's what the WaveLab Cast iteration is all about. It's to make you or put you in a position to help you create, and to create simply, and get those ideas of yours down as easy as possible. Okay? Because, sorry, I'm just going to go over here. You've enough to be thinking about when you're trying to think of script, when you're trying to get your interviews together, when you're trying to get your music together, when you're trying to put a video together. There's so much to be thinking about, and there's so much you have to be doing with your audio that people just don't consider, or people kind of brush over because it's scary. There's a lot of scary stuff about audio that people just don't get. And there's 1,000,001 videos out there in YouTube going, I'll tell you how to use audio in such and such, an audio production here, and audio production workflows for your YouTube videos. And you know what? Most of them are talking through their hat. I've watched so many of them just to try and get an idea. This thing, WaveLab Cast, is going to help you with all of that. It does so much of the heavy work for you that you don't need to know about A, B, C, and D, compression, EQ, denoising, all these things that it does for you. Simple things like putting a little crossfade in your edits and smoothing out the whole thing. It's absolutely fabulous to do that. Okay? Check out the WaveLab Cast website. Okay? You'll find the trial on there. And from there, just install it. Okay? Go back to episode 1 of this, and then episode 2, because episode 1 gives you a whole mishmash of information, how to set it up, and, you know, a full overview pretty much of the whole thing. Now we're kind of boring down into the nitty gritty, but hopefully not in a scary sense. If you guys got any questions as we're going forward, just put them in the chat here. And we'll get you guys creating really simply, okay? So if you're looking at this setup here, okay, we now have our voiceover, okay? We now have our interview that we're starting to edit. We also have our music, okay? Music's going on too loud. Fade that down. Look, grab my fade. How beautiful is that? So this is what we hear. What makes Borderlands so attractive to the average gamer?
Borderlands, the first Borderlands came out a good while ago, and it was one of the first games. I can't remember what the art style is called, but it was one of the first games to use this technique on their...
How simple was that? And now we're putting our podcast together. This is so super simple, and we haven't even got into the nitty-gritty. We're literally just having a think. What do we want to use in our interview? What we're using for our subject matter? Because whatever your subject matter is, if you're putting a podcast together, there's somebody out there that is going to love watching it, or listening to it, should I say. Okay? Like you said it before, you're into vintage cars. Somebody's going to put a vintage car podcast together, right? If you can do it in here and make it sound super good, that is a massive leap over so much content out there. Because a lot of the guys and girls have the interest in whatever, vintage cars, but very, very, very little consideration of how to put that podcast together. We talked about wire diagrams at the front and literally a piece of paper, how important it is just to grab a piece of paper and a pen and write out a wireframe of exactly what you have to do to get your interview or to get your podcast put together. How do you want to see your podcast? Intro, VO, tunes, go into the first interview. Do you want to be heard in your interview, or will we do the questions in voiceover? So you can write all that out. But also, I want to get an interview on, okay, imagine it's Manus's podcast on Borderlands. What are the aspects of Borderlands? What are the appealing aspects of Borderlands that we want to highlight in our podcast? And you can do that all with a piece of paper and pen. But then you put down the same piece of paper and pen. What am I going to record it with? Is it going to be a handheld recorder? I've got loads of those around here. Is it going to be a microphone plugged into another recorder or into a computer with an audio interface? So there's lots you can do before you sit down and try and throw it all together. And because there's so much you can be doing to get a podcast together. Interviews, finding music, recording your voiceover. All these aspects that can kind of overwhelm you. But if you have them all down on a piece of paper as a list, just tick them off as you go. Not only do you get the satisfaction of, I've done that, done that, done that, done that, but you're not getting overwhelmed with the whole practice of it. And, oh, I have to get this interview, and I have to do this, and I have to do that, and I have to do the other, and I haven't gotten anything done, and panic. Okay? Put it down on a piece of paper. Okay? Then you know that you have to go and interview Manus. You have to interview his friend. You got to go and interview this. You know exactly what equipment you're bringing where. It's all being recorded to an SD card. You bring that into your computer in the same folder that you set up as your project folder. You then went to your file, info, and you made sure that that is your project name and where you want to put it. Okay? You can also see the size of the files and the sample rate, the quality of the recordings. Okay? This is currently at 48K, which is like HD TV. Okay? All super important stuff. Super important stuff. But it's not crazy. You absolutely, emphatically can manage this. As I say to you, how you approach it is so important. I'm sure there's loads of people out there that start off with their podcast and they buy all sorts of gear and they do this and that and the other, and they sit down and they try and record a voiceover. How hard is that? I hear you say. Well, it can be fairly difficult, to be honest with you, between pops on your mic, messing up on your voiceover, not writing out your voiceover. You write a script, it's written down, you go to record it. When you go to write or speak certain written words, your brain works so fast, and you write it all down, and it's all great, and it sounds brilliant in here, but when you go to blah, 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 it sounds awful. So what you got to do is focus on each aspect and put each aspect down on a piece of paper so you don't get overwhelmed. Now you're in a really, really good position to start heading into this, making your content and making it amazing. Tools like WaveLab Cast will help you get so far ahead of the group. Because as I said, there's loads of people out there making podcasts, and they have huge interest in, say, vintage cars or D&D or Borderlands or, I don't know, lamps. But they don't have the wherewithal with all the equipment. So when they all do put it together, it just sounds awful. Absolutely awful, and it's grating on the ear of the listener. And if it's grating on the ear of the listener, they're just not going to listen. You're going to lose your audience like that. Okay? So you got to be super, super, super aware of what you're doing. At the end of the day, you want your content and your show to be heard. You want to get more listeners. You want your podcast up there, you know? And unless people are engaging with it, that's not going to happen. And there's a few really simple steps you can make to make that happen. And it's super simple. Don't be stressing. We'll go through the whole thing. I'll take your hand through the whole way. Okay? And at the end of this, you'll come out with something beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Jeff, Tim, who else did we have in here? We had somebody else in here. So, hey, there's me mouse. That's me, Green. David, there you go as well. Oh, David M1. That's what you're going to be known from now on, David. Well done, sir. Loving that. Yeah, did you find out whether it's okay for M1 while we were chatting there, David? I don't know. Listen to me, I have to go. It's time up already. I can't believe that. We did some simple editing there, really simple editing. But if you do download the trial version from the website, okay, get your hands on the trial version, okay? There it is. That's the website, podcast, WaveLab Cast, loving that. You can either buy it or you can just download it straight away, which is great. Download the trial version, have a play with it, okay? Have a look through this. It's going to give you more information. And as I say, if you have any questions, just bring it to me next month, okay? We will be looking at this bit by bit as we go. And it's just going to sound better and better and better as we go, okay? It's so good to have your company tonight, lads. I hope it wasn't spoiled by this broadband and stuff like that. I hope everything's okay. I was recording it here as well, so we have two versions. If the broadband version was wrecked or the live version was wrecked, I'll put up the same show as a file and you guys can have a good listen to it. All right? Listen, have a fabulous holiday. I hope you guys get some time off. Don't feel any pressure. It's all good. It's meant to be fun. If you're not into Christmas, if you're not into any of all that, listen, there's always goodwill to all men and women and whoever else. You know what I mean? So just go out, be nice, have a happy and peaceful Christmas, and have a happy and peaceful New Year to everybody out there. And get the WaveLab Cast. If you've a bit of time off, have a bit of a play. It's all good, right? So I'm going to go and I'll see you next month, and we'll go further into the editing. But we'll also look at this track inspector, this famous track inspector that takes so much weight off your shoulders. It's unbelievable, okay? And we'll make it starting to sound so much better. We'll finish it doing this little edit on this little interview, okay? We'll have that sounding amazing, okay? It'll sound consistent. We'll bring in a bit of music, and then we'll start processing the audio proper in there, okay? I want to record a bit more voiceover as well, so you guys can see exactly what's going on there. Yeah? I'll give you a bit of production techniques as well. All right? Listen, it's been a joy. Listen, good night, lads. I hope all is well. And I hope you have a wonderful Christmas. And I will talk to you in the next few weeks. All right? Take it easy. Bye-bye.